I want to address first thing right off the bat that I do not condone cheating. This is something that I think a lot of admission officers and a lot of teachers, even in school, high school, even middle school, maybe, dear Lord, are going to have to deal with. They're already probably getting essays from here with students who want to kind of cut corners. Now, granted, there's a way where I see it being used as a really useful tool, but that becomes more of a gray line and where you want to really establish the use factor for this. But for those of you guys who are not aware, this is ChatGPT or GPT-3 as I've seen it being called or referenced on the internet. It's offered by OpenAI.com. It's free. You just need to register. And essentially it allows you to, it basically is a bot that helps you write essays. It's a bot that writes essays for you. And so let's just put it in, you put it in a natural language prompt. So at the bottom here, once you create an account, you go, let's say, I don't know, let's do the UC leadership essay. I have already one that I made prior with some edits to it in terms of the prompting, but let's just do what a typical student might first try who's trying to apply for, let's say, UC schools and is trying to cut corners. Let's do leaders, write me a 350-word essay about leadership in high school. Let's just put in the in high school and see what it does. Okay, leadership is an important quality. This is all live, by the way. You're seeing the bot do this live. Leadership is an important quality to possess, and it's something that should be fostered and developed from a young age. In high school, students have the opportunity to take on leadership roles and make a positive impact on their peers in the school community. There are many ways for students to demonstrate leadership in high school. One way is by being a class officer or a member of the student council. These roles involve organizing events, advocating for students' needs and concerns, and representing the student body to school administration. Another way to show leadership is by starting or joining a club or extracurricular activity. These organizations provide a platform for students to pursue their passions, develop new skills, and make a difference in their community or school. For example, a student interested in environmental sustainability might start a recycling club, while a student interested in art might join the school's art club. In addition to taking on formal leadership roles, students can also demonstrate leadership by being a positive role model and setting a good example for their peers. This might involve being respectful and courteous to others, being responsible and reliable, and always striving to do their best. Leadership also involves being able to work well with others and being a team player. In high school, students often have to work on group projects or collaborate with their peers or on assignments. Being able to communicate effectively, listen to others' ideas, and contribute to a common goal is essential for success. Finally, the leadership involves being able to adapt to new situations and challenges. High school can be a time of change and uncertainty, and students who are able to stay positive and flexible in the faces of challenges are likely to be seen as leaders by their peers. In conclusion, leadership is an important quality that can be developed and demonstrated in many different ways in high school, whether through formal leadership roles, being a positive role model, working well with others, or adapting to change. Students who exhibit leadership skills are likely to make a positive impact on their peers in the school community. That was just generated live by a bot. Now, granted, there's obviously some big issues with this, and it's going to come down to how you prompt the bot. For example, feels very regurgitory towards just what I typically see in students that don't use I statements. So first thing off the bat, something I try to preach all the time is when you're doing college essays, you need to be using I statements, subject sentences with subjects that begin with I, or that have I as the subject. This doesn't have any of that. So that feels, what I tell my students, a little Wikipedia, like you're regurgitating facts and information. And frankly, a lot of students actually have this kind of vibe. They'll probably be much better than this. They'll be doing an I statement in the beginning, but then they write things like this. These roles involve organizing events, advocate, blah, 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 blah. I think that if you were smarter about this, so I made one in advance to prompt it a little bit more specifically. So I'm going to switch over to the next one. So this time around, earlier, what I tried was to be a little bit smarter about it. And so I did write me a UC leadership essay about being a captain of my basketball team and how I learned about inspiring others, building a strong team culture, and dealing with internal conflicts. Let's see how this reads instead. I didn't ask for 350, but maybe I should have. As the captain of my high school basketball team, I learned valuable lessons about leadership and teamwork that will carry with me for the rest of my life. Immediately a little bit better. One of the most important things I learned was the importance of inspiring and motivating my teammates. As captain, I knew that it was my job to set a positive example and to encourage my teammates to give their best effort on and off the court. I learned that the best way to do this was through my own actions and words. by always giving 100% in practice in games and by always being willing to lend a helping hand or offer a supportive word to my teammates. This is looking pretty good so far. In addition to inspiring my teammates, I also learned the importance of building a strong team culture. I learned that a positive team culture is essential for success, and it helps to foster a sense of unity and camaraderie around the players. And it can also help to create a sense of belonging and purpose. To build a strong team culture, I focused on creating opportunities for my teams to bond and build relationships off the court, just such as team dinners and team bonding activities. I also work to create a positive and inclusive environment by emphasizing respect and kindness towards one another. Finally, I learned the importance of dealing with internal conflicts effectively, as I often had to mediate disputes and resolve conflicts within the team. I learned that the key to handling these situations was to approach them with empathy and understanding and to try to see things from both sides. I also learned the importance of finding solutions that work for everyone rather than just trying to impose my own values on the situation. Overall, my experience as captain of my basketball team taught me valuable lessons about leadership, teamwork, conflict resolution that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. I am confident that these skills will serve me well in all of my future endeavors, both personal and professional. I gotta be honest. This sounds like probably 50-60% of students I initially work with. So I've come up with this thing with my students. I say, you're writing like a bot. And that's technically a compliment, I would say, up to maybe a high-level 8th grader. I think a high-level 8th grader would be trained well enough from, GATE, APIS, whatever, to then honors English class, 7th, 8th grade, to write like this. It's very well structured. It's regurgitory. It's using I statements. What it's missing is critical insight. It's missing specific case examples. So, for example, I also learned the importance of building a strong team culture. A positive team culture is essential for success. It helps blah, 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 blah. So tell me the specific example and where you learned that. Maybe it was at the pinnacle point or maybe it was at the point of you were at the county championships and everything started to fall apart. And that's when you started to see the importance of rallying people together. So if you gave specific examples, that can help improve this. But yeah, I think this is a high-level 8th grader. I've done some research on what other people think about it. I think Wall Street Journal also posted some concerns about this and how teachers are trying to be preemptive about it. I've heard some people say that this is basically a very good 10th grader. I could see that. I could see a 10th. I think like half of my 10th graders, my notion of 10th graders that I've worked with would probably be writing at this level. Another way I've heard it being said is that it's the bottom 30% of college first year English class performance. So this is basically a bottom 30% college student writing. I think that it required a better prompt from you, from me. Notice how I kind of led the scaffolding more specifically. And I think by doing that, it created a better result, especially when I incorporated how and the I statements there. But guys, the question then becomes, how good is this? Can I use something like this? Obviously, I'm not condoning it. Don't bother with it. It's good to have fun with and good to get some ideas, but maybe as a scaffold, by itself, I don't feel right about it. And I don't think it's particularly good. I think it's very body writing. Maybe in 2-3 years time, 5 years time, I'm going to, the level of progress in this is going to far eclipse maybe my expectations currently. But as of now, I think it's very body writing. Can body writing get into good colleges? Depends on good colleges. What do you mean by that? So I posted way back when, one of the first things I did, and I'm probably going to have to do this again this year, sometime when I have free time, a spreadsheet of what I consider to be the tier 1 schools, tier 2 schools, and tier 3 schools. So as you can see right here, I think tier 1 schools are anywhere from the Ivy Leagues up the top to Dartmouth. There's a couple Ivy Leagues in tier 2. I might actually change Brown. You know what? I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to change Brown. I think Brown is actually very popular with its Brown RISD program, PLME program. So it attracts a lot of, especially early decision, high tier students. Then we have tier 2. So we have USC to UCLA and a couple of those. We have Cornell in there. And then you would have tier 3. Okay. I honestly think this can pass as a tier 3 essay. I really do. I think if you had really solid stats relative to a tier 3 requirement or expectation, um, if your major choice maybe wasn't that competitive, I'm thinking like NYU Stern, because NYU Stern, even though NYU itself is like a tier 3 to me, NYU Stern is like a tier 1.5. It's very, very popular and hard to get into. So maybe not for like those specific kinds of competitive majors at reputable schools. Instead, I think just as a whole, tier 3, I think this could get into UCI. I really do. I think this is getting to UC San Diego. I've seen students who written similar to this or maybe a little bit worse, and they still got it. Of course, it comes down to major and grades and test scores and activities and everything else. But the point remains, like, I'm genuinely curious how schools are going to try to adapt to this. Now, as I said, I did my research. There's already ways to capture or to scan for this. I think sometimes you can get up to like a 99% certainty of the fact that this was like generated by a bot. And I see some students being smart about it and or clever about it, and maybe like tweaking things here and there. Again, using it as a scaffold first and then injecting things. I'm not sure how the school's going to respond or how we're going to have to deal with this. But guys, I think that a bot can write an essay that could get into UCI. That's what I'm thinking. I don't think it's good enough at all for tier 2s and tier 1s. I don't think it's good enough. There's just not enough critical introspection, personalized details. But I could see a student starting this way and then injecting those and scaffolding it that way. So I just wanted to share this. I don't think, guys, this is good enough to get into tier 1, tier 2 schools. So if you were hinging on this, we just finished applying for most of the regulars January 1st to January 5th deadlines. Yeah, am I going to lose my essay coaching job because a bot is going to do better than this? Maybe in 5 years, maybe in 3 years. But as of right now, it's not tier 1, tier 2 material. If you're going to be tempted to use it for tier 3, be advised that it's easy to catch. Like I can sense that it's body writing. So that becomes kind of the funny irony or the concerning irony that's a little bit comical to me. Because I've started saying to my students that you're writing like a bot, and that's meant to be derogatory. It's meant to say like you're writing in this very typical regurgitory, non-insightful pattern. Is that enough to get into UCI? I guess I just said that, huh? I've seen it. I've seen it year after year for the last 10 years at minimum. For some like an essay like this to be able to make it. Just, I guess the point was to show you what's coming around, to be careful, especially if you're tier 1 and tier 2, to not rely on this too heavily. Tier 3, tier 4, maybe use it as a way to help you structure, but then use your own words, rewrite it entirely, and make sure that you try to avoid kind of the body things. As I mentioned, it's like regurgitory. It's very formulaic. To do this, I do this. To do this, I did that. There needs to be resume flexing with introspection. I teach that rule all the time. And it's the quality of your introspection that's going to matter. I guess my final point about this is students, it's how you synthesize your information that you've learned over your years and how you can bring out unique or interesting insights about it, personal insights about it. That's going to matter more and more. I think that's where the essays are going to distinguish between students as we go into the future. So if anything, learn how bots write and realize that is like level 1. You can go to a higher level of writing. So if you're interested, check that out. Otherwise, do not cheat. Do not use this for bad purposes, please. And I'll see you guys soon.